Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be opening up several packages. These are brand new Sega Dreamcast games, or one very specific one. In case you're not aware, yes, the Sega Dreamcast, my favorite game console of all time, does get new games every once in a while, and if you saw my 22nd anniversary, 22nd birthday video of the Dreamcast, you would know which game this is. I mentioned it in there, I just didn't have it in time, so I couldn't show it. It is a game called Intrepid Izzy. And yes, it really has been 22 years since the launch of the Sega Dreamcast. Time really flies, and we're all going to die soon. Anyway, hopefully you're fine. But yes, there is a brand new Sega Dreamcast game called Intrepid Izzy, and I thought not only we show it and play it and all that sort of stuff, but we should talk a little bit about how we got to this point, you know, just kind of go over it a little bit. It's important to understand, I think, that this game came from a company called Senile Team, or very specifically, that's the developer of this game. Senile Team, if you like the Dreamcast, if you've been paying attention to it for the last almost 2 decades, you've probably heard of them and didn't necessarily even realize it. In fact, it's kind of stunning to me that Senile Team is still active, considering that they've been around since very early on in the Dreamcast independent scene. And to my knowledge, they've only done 4 releases, only 2 of which were actually commercially released. So let's talk a little bit about that. The first thing that they released that they were probably best known for is a game called Beats of Rage. Beats of Rage was a Streets of Rage love letter clone that not only came out on the internet, they just gave it away for free, they also released the source code and people could go off and make their own games where they would replace the sprites and backgrounds with different characters and things. So you'd have like Ninja Turtles fighting the X-Men or something in a background in like some crazy like Streets of Rage type of game. So odds are you've played that and didn't even necessarily realize they were the ones that made it, or at least allowed for its possibility. I mean, dude, I remember being in high school. The Dreamcast was barely over, and everybody was playing Beats of Rage. It was just kind of crazy. But that was their, I think, biggest release. But obviously, for licensing reasons, they never actually did an official, legitimate release of that. Years later, in 2009, they actually had that opportunity. They made a brand new game, wholly original, and released it. And it was this game called Rush Rally Racing. I actually think this is one of the best indie Dreamcast games ever made. This is a great top-down racing game in the style of Micro Machines for like the Sega Genesis, or more accurately Mega Drive, because I believe Senile Team is a British company, and those Micro Machines games were freaking huge there. Or maybe they're German. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're British, though. Anyway, those games were big across Europe, so it's not surprising that that would be the inspiration. It's actually quite a fun game. Originally, they had the standard release. They also had a special edition called the DX version that included a music soundtrack. Then they had the very elusive special edition with the nighttime variant cover. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else who actually has that. Years later, like only a couple of years ago, they actually re-released this game as Rush Rally Reloaded. This is the long box DVD edition. This is like you might think of as the definitive edition. They added extra content to the game. I think they fixed a couple of bugs here and there. This was the more up-to-date version for the Dreamcast, and if you're interested in this game, this is probably the version you're going to want to get, and realistically, the version that would be more affordable to get. After that, they apparently did another game I had never even heard of called, like, Super Jelly Bean Quest. I don't know if they actually developed it from the ground up. I know they at least ported it over to the Dreamcast, but it was just like a free release they did in 2012. I don't think it was actually that big of a deal for them. And then they kind of went silent. But what was coming on the horizon was Intrepid Izzy. In 2017, they launched a Kickstarter for this game. I actually backed it, and now, here in 2021, the game is done, it is shipped, it is out, and I have it. So this is my Kickstarter edition copy, so let's go ahead and open it up and take a look at it. Inside, we have some cardboard, and we have the game itself, and it looks like we have a note or something. Let's put that off to the side. Let's see. Let's read this. We're just going to read this out loud. Let's see what happens. Hi, Adam. I have been in contact with Wave, which I believe is the publisher, and the Senile Team that are based out of the Netherlands. Okay, so I was wrong. It's the Netherlands. Thank you for the. This is like news. Like they just handed me the update, and we're correcting something. That's an old reference. In the Netherlands. Anyway, Wave has been in the UK promoting their upcoming Intrepid Izzy, which is the game right here, going from store to store to store, taking pre-orders on the game. I know, like me, how much you enjoy your Dreamcast, so I have asked Wave for a few extra copies of the game to send out. It would seem easier to get a copy of the game in the UK than it is to get it in the USA, as you can only get it via the Dragon Box site. Anyway, enjoy the game. Martin K. Last Level Games. Well, thank you very much for the letter there. Yes, so I was in talks with Martin about this, and I guess this is his card for Last Level Games. But yeah, so this is the PAL edition of the game. Now, this is the one I actually bought. Now, as you can see, what's interesting about it is that it uses an NTSC style case, despite having PAL inspired artwork. The thing is, that's probably just an economic decision. Usually when these indie games go for the PAL version, they create a Dreamcast replica case, because Dreamcast in Europe had those bigger blue cases. This did not, and I'm guessing it's just because those are much more expensive. The reason for the NTSC style case, I have to assume, is simple economics. But let's go ahead and try and open it up here. Let's see, cutting through the plastic wrap there. I get my best shot there. Okay, actually this one's actually opening decently. Okay, and here we go. We have the game itself. Now, don't let the artwork and all that fool you. This is not actually region encoded in any way. Just because it looks PAL, it doesn't mean it actually is, or it's not region free. It is region free, that's what I'm trying to say. Every Dreamcast indie game is region free, so it really just comes down to what aesthetic you like. But yeah, there's the front artwork. And there's the back artwork, which has a few screenshots of the game and all the description and all that sort of stuff. We'll get into it soon. And then inside you have the manual, as well as the disc itself. The disc is pressed on a disc. This is not a CDR. These are all pressed in Germany. Look it up. Every single time you get some weird, not just Dreamcast indie release, but anytime somebody needs to get a music CD-based content, disc-based, not DVD, not Blu-ray. These are technically audio CDs with data on them. Anytime somebody needs to get a CD-ROM printed anytime in the last 10 years, it's always done in Germany. It's like a conspiracy. I think there's a real reason for it that has to do with licensing matters, but still, it's kind of fascinating. But yeah, so we can take a quick look at the manual, I suppose. If we can get it out here. I'm always weary of getting out new manuals because sometimes you accidentally cause damage, but no, we're good. The manual just has some basic controls, description of those controls, the map and inventory system, how checkpoints work, how saving data works, as well as some credits. And it's very, very basic menu, which is nice. But yes, so there you go. There is the quote-unquote PAL version, which again is region-free, so it doesn't really matter. But they also later, as he points out in this letter, they were trying to get a hold of me to send me other stuff, which is true. They actually contacted me and they're like, hey, we know you bought it, but we're going to send you some extra ones anyway, so here you go. So I'm not entirely certain how this is going to be different, but let's take a look. So we'll open this one up. And inside we have, so here is the NTSC-J, or Japanese design, which might also be the American one. We're going to open it up and see if that's the case. So a lot of the times, I'm not saying this is necessarily true in this instance, I legit don't know, but a lot of the time what happens is, for the NTSC stuff, they just kind of make reversible covers for Japan and the US and just kind of change the front. I don't know if that happened. We're literally about to find out. So we open it up. That is not the case, although the case itself is broken. That's okay. But yeah, so it's the cover art is different. It's got this Japanese style menu. Yeah, I accidentally broke. I don't think I did this. I don't really know. The hinge is broken, but it's easily replaceable. No problem there. I got plenty of music discs around, which is, again, the advantage of using a standard North American style CD case is that this doesn't become a problem. But yes, the front of the manual is different. That's right there, basically the biggest issue, or not issue, difference. Everything else about it, like the back artwork is different a little bit, but the disc itself is 100% identical. If you open up the Japanese quote-unquote version, it's exactly the same thing, no difference there. So basically, like I said before, it really just boils down to your cosmetic interests, like which version do you like. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get the PAL one, and they had nothing to do with this game, or had nothing to do with this video, I should say, but there's a company called the Bit Station. They're good guys. They sell a lot of indie Dreamcast stuff. I know that they're selling the North American version, or the Japanese version as well, so I'll put a link to them in the description. As I vaguely recall, I had a conversation with Martin where he was talking about how many of each they were making. I don't want to say that out loud, but it was a comically small number of these Japanese / North American versions. So if you're into the Dreamcast, you might want to get on that sooner than later. Otherwise, you probably will only have the quote-unquote PAL version as an option later. They also sent me this, which I'm guessing, based on its design here, is something very specific. But let's go ahead and try to get into it and see what exactly we have here. Okay, inside, yep, it's exactly what it looks like. It is, I think that's the only thing in there. It's just a couple of posters. Oh, wait, there's also something. Oh, so we got poster number 1, which looks like that. That's some cool artwork right there. We also have poster, there you go. We have poster number 2, which is Rush Rally Reloaded, which I have right here. I have the game for it just sitting out. I swear I had no idea this was going to be in there. And then they also sent me some other things. We got some sticker. We got 2 sticker sheets that look to be the same sticker sheet. So there you go. I can't really, whatever. I'll show a close up of it. But yeah, there's 2 of these. But yes, that seems to be about it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going ahead and fire it up, and we're going to play it.
All right, we are rolling here. So just a warning, I cut out a lot of stuff, including load times, a little bit of the background, you know, of the game, namely the plot and all that sort of stuff. Also, throughout the video, throughout the footage, I'm just cutting out random sequences just so you guys can get highlights here and there, just to see as much as possible. So first couple of things. The game actually has achievements. Like when you first start it up, there's actually like a list of, they don't call it achievements, but it's essentially what it is. It's strange to see that in a Dreamcast game, though. It's not the first Dreamcast game to do that. It's just kind of one of those things, like mentally it's a hurdle that's kind of strange. The premise of the game is basically like, you know, Izzy here kind of stumbled across a genie, and the genie didn't like her and then sent her down to this like dungeon type of thing, hence where we are right now. And the game is actually relatively amusing. You know, the dialogue bubbles, everything's kind of funny. It kind of makes sense that Senile Team's games would inherently be a tad crazy, but the gameplay mechanics are actually a lot of fun. As you can see, it's a platformer, very good platformer. I really like it. Like it's very intuitive to pick up, particularly older guys like me who grew up on things like the Genesis and SNES. You know, a lot of our gaming instincts are still definitely functional here. You can see that there was a lot of inspiration from that era. I see a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog in some of the artwork design, not so much the gameplay, but at least some of the design elements. But yeah. So there's a lot of jokes and little things like that I think are great. Towards the end, you'll see just truly how expansive this game actually is. See, I thought it was more like a standard platform where you go from zone to zone, and there certainly is that in the game. But there's also like a hub town near the end, at least of this level. And once you're in the hub town, you can go to any number of different areas. There's even an arcade. Check us out. Part of this is kind of like you can choose your own adventure. There's a map system, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of different options in this game, and I think that makes it kind of unique for a platformer like this. But yeah, there's an arcade with 3 little mini games. I'll give you very small samples of that towards the end. I mean, when I say small, like literally you'll just see like right before I lost, you know, in each case, just to get a sense of what each game is. But yeah, it's pretty neat. The game is, I'm playing it with the VGA mode. It's, you know, it supports that like all indie games do, running it through the DC Digital specifically, or DC HDMI. I have to say though, like overall, the only way I can really describe the feeling of this game is that it comes off like an unfulfilled promise of the Sega Saturn, and this is going to require a little history lesson here. I know that sounds a little strange, but people forget, like when Sega was designing the Saturn, 2D was still like the most popular thing. They bet on it hard for the future of the Saturn. It's just that they said, okay, we have more capability now, and we're going to have like 3D backgrounds. So the idea was 2D games with 3D elements, just smoother, nicer 2D based games. The success of the PlayStation kind of changed Sega's strategy, and they more or less had to squeeze 3D content out of the Saturn. So as a result, there weren't a whole lot of games that actually fulfilled that, like an initial goal. This game really feels like something that would have been probably one of the all-time greatest Sega Saturn games had it been released on the Saturn. So in that sense, it doesn't necessarily feel like a Dreamcast game specifically, but it does certainly have a lot of Dreamcast elements, customizations, things like the VMU is the icon in the game, and there's all sorts of random little nods. I mean, I'm about to save the game, and you can see the, you know, the save station and all that. There's, you know, you'll see the Dreamcast VMU and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely prevalent. I'm just saying that's, if you had to ask me how to describe like the tone, it would pretty much be that. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of cut here to the end and let you guys just look at some of the backgrounds and some of the characters and all that sort of stuff and enjoy some of the music. Some of the music is actually, like around this area, is actually from Rush Rush Rally Reloaded. But anyway, I'll talk to you towards the end. Well, there you go. I hope you guys found that game relatively interesting and amusing. I certainly did. I like little subtleties like people riding on dinosaurs and all that stuff in the background. But yeah, this game is pretty cool. If you like it and you want to pick it up, I'll put a link in the description to the Bit Station. You can get it there. I want to give a shout out to Senile Team and Wave for even making this game in the first place, and Martin too for hooking me up with not only an extra copy of the game, but that stuff there. So again, link in the description if you want to check it out. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe, I always appreciate that. If you could follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, all that sort of stuff, Patreon, all that sort of information is in the description. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.